This is a game on Siegfried Line in the Tier 8 Premium Russian heavy tank, the KV-5. KV-5 is one of those pretty interesting tanks to play. I want to talk a little bit about the tank and a little bit about doing basically reverse peekaboo. So the tank is really heavily armored, but on the front it has these two cupolas which are pretty weak, so most people by now know to just shoot through those. And so one of the things that you can do is you can actually essentially drive around in reverse, because the rear of the tank is actually fairly well armored, and if you can angle it properly and or hide certain weak spots, then you're going to be able to benefit. And so I'll talk about that a little bit as we actually start doing it. And so we're just going to drive up into the town here. And the other place where you can shoot the KV-5 is this sort of little hatch on the top, but that's certainly much more difficult than shooting the R2-D2 on the front. And so I was going to turn around here and do the reverse peekaboo there, but the JP2 pushed up and he didn't really see anything, just spotted that IS-2 on the left. So we're going to get a free shot on the IS-2. And then they're sitting pretty far back here, so I'm going to push up. This is something that you can do, particularly in more armored tanks, is push up into this area over here. And then see how most of our team has pushed up in here. We have 3 tanks in there. That's good coverage for us. We don't really have that much on this west here, so I wanted to see what else I can see over here. But we do know that they have a bunch of tanks over there. Lefty pushed in probably a little bit too far, so I have to go back and see if I can try to help him. And so after missing the comet once, which I'm sure gets lefty shot in extra time. And then now I can basically set up. And so basically I'm putting the rear of my tank into, and I'm moving forward here. And then I can basically just move forward and back in order to shoot the tanks. And so essentially what you always want to typically do is be, looking over your left shoulder to shoot at tanks. Because what that's going to do is that's going to protect the R2-D2 that's on the other side and make it difficult to shoot. So, we've got a number of people shooting us, but they don't really have any good angles on us per se. And so I'm still driving around backwards here. And see, I have a lot of fire support on this east side, but not as much from the west, so that's something that I have to keep looking over and making sure that I'm not going to get flanked, because when you're doing a maneuver like this, it's really easy for them to show up on that west side and shoot into my side, which is much less armored. But like all these guys that are in front of me right now, this Tiger, the IS-6, JP2, like if they try to push in, they don't really have much to shoot at.
It's a trap!
And then I think that Tiger's backed off, and I'm not sure where the IS-6 has gone, but I can kill the JP2 here. So I'm going to turn around and drive forward to get him, and that's going to expose my R2-D2, which he then shoots through, and then I bounce off of him because I rushed my shot. Didn't need to rush a shot there. Take a hit, make sure that you get the damage in. But only 1 shot of damage, and then still vulnerable on the west-ish, but we can attack these guys on the east, particularly if we can take down the IS-6. That's a tank that a lot of puppies will struggle with. So we'll see, but ideally you want to start clearing off your flanks, especially like this ARL is going to pick up this T-20 moving in. And then again, just driving backwards here. even if he didn't get whapped by our whatever it was that hit, it was probably artillery that hit him. I would have been able to bounce a lot of his shots there by just having proper angling. And so that's what makes this tank a little bit of a bully tank is that you can bounce a lot of shots, particularly if you end up in a tier 8 game. It's got preferred matchmaking. You can still bounce a lot of 9s as well. You just need to learn to basically shield your little cupola, and you'll typically do pretty well. So like I'm more than willing to let them shoot the back of my tank, but ideally, essentially what you're doing is shielding it from the front. So we didn't really do, this wasn't like some hugely exceptional KV-5 game where I killed everything on the map, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. One, that you can push up heavy tanks into the Siegfried line here, especially if they're sitting pretty far back. If you get a couple heavy tanks in there, like Lefty went a little bit too far because he went up over here, but if we both started over here, then we could have just started double tapping things. We could have picked a side to go to, we could have both gone on that side and really wreaked some havoc. But owning this central area here, particularly if you have guys far enough up on either the 6 or the 9 line to actually give you some crossfire support, it's really helpful and really effective in a game on this particular map. And secondly, just some of the features of the tanks, like the KV-5 or the Object 430 V2, they have sort of peculiar characteristics about them, and what you want to be able to try to do is to find ways that you can exploit the advantages, and minimize the downside, and that's one of the reasons why driving around backwards in a KV-5 can be effective. And so if you look at the stats, it really doesn't take that much to get a mastery in the KV-5. I think mostly because people don't necessarily play the armor quite right. But in this particular game, we were able to do a lot of damage simply because we kept everything in front of us, well, I guess technically behind us. And that basically allowed us to bounce a lot of shots, and essentially when we were trading, in a 1-for-1, either with the Tiger or with the IS-6 or things like that, we ended up doing a lot more shots that did damage than our opponents, which is pretty much the key for how you want to play the KV-5. And then it's just about making your shots count and not, bouncing like on that JP2. And if you're going to take a hit, which you certainly can in this tank, make sure that you deal damage in return. So I hope that was helpful for anyone who was wondering how the KV-5 played, and thanks for watching.